You look nervous.
What?
You look nervous.
It's so much is going on. I got the big dog here and the people out there, and I don't know how
Oh, the cleaning people.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. This will cheer you up.
You got to move forward. Oh, is it? I mean, what is it like? Why does it not?
It's reindeer ears.
Is it reindeer ears?
Yeah, see the little ears there?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah,
Here's
yeah.
the antlers.
I wish it would show better. I'm trying to,
Show better. Oh, because of my background, I guess. Here, maybe I'll turn these off.
It's too bad, but it looks cute. It looks really cute.
Oh, it's darling. It is so much fun.
So do you wear that wherever you go?
I've worn it shopping, and I wore it to dinner at a really nice restaurant the other day.
You may meet your guy doing this
With a red sweater.
It
It was fun, and I brought stuff for the other people at the table to wear. And our host, someone took us out, 4 of us out to dinner, and she wore a sweet little pearl headband.
Oh, those
that
are
I
fun
gave
too.
her. Yeah. So that was fun.
It's so funny. It was so funny buying you the chakra tree. I thought, I'm trying to get Lynn to get rid of things. And
I know. Well, it's okay. I love it. And it's fun to play with because it helps my OCD, like, oh, this has to be perfect. So that's fun to play with.
I don't have that, the OCD part. But I do love it. I wonder how many people will come on with the holidays and stuff today.
Well, I bet it'll be like normal.
You think it will? There's Marilyn.
Yeah.
On.
I think next week might not be a lot.
Yeah, no. Oh, look how cute Marilyn looks. Can you hear us, Marilyn?
Yeah, cute. Are you kidding? Oh,
I love your hair. How are you doing?
Yeah, your hair looks great. She could
thank
see
you.
oh, there, you can see some of
That's adorable. Very cute.
it.
Hello.
Hello.
How is
I can put on my Hanukkah headband.
Ooh.
I have one that says Oy vey.
I
that's
just have one
funny.
with the candles.
Oh, are you wearing reindeer? Are they antlers?
Yeah, these are reindeer antlers.
Oh,
But
And
it's
the
hard
little
to
ears.
get the top, yeah. But yeah, happy Hanukkah to those of you who celebrate
Thank
Hanukkah
you.
celebration
Thank you.
today. Yes.
It's a veggie, it's a very eggy and oily holiday.
Oh, yes. It's all about the oil.
It
Right.
is about the oil. Yep.
So what do you do with the oil?
Oh, you fry your latkes, your potato pancakes in it.
Oh, okay.
And your house
Or
smells
you can-
days of oil.
Yeah. But a long time ago, that's what they used to
Yes.
for candles. That was they'd
For
have
candles,
a wick in
yes.
the oil. Yeah.
And they only had oil for one night, and the miracle is that it burned for eight days and nights. So that's what the miracle is based on. So we light candles for 8 days and eat greasy food, fried in oil.
Yep.
All good, right? All good.
Yeah, with lots of chicken fat.
Really? Hey, Mary Beth, happy anniversary for last week. Can she can hear us? No,
I don't think so.
Not
I don't think
yet.
she has her headset on yet.
we're talking about you, Mary Beth.
I know it. I didn't have my volume on.
Oh, okay. We were saying happy anniversary for last week.
Thank you.
Yeah. How many years was it?
24.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. They're still like lovebirds. It's so cute.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what happens.
About Hanukkah and the oil and cooking everything in oil and how the tradition started. And Lynn had antlers on her head, but she disappeared. Now it looks like
Coffee.
oh, okay.
Heather?
It's important.
How was your Hanukkah bash, Idel?
I just.
Oh my God, if anybody needs cookies or kugel, I'm your girl.
It's too bad we're so far away.
I know, oh my goodness. So yeah.
And you
It
guys
was
have that the frozen, it's going to be freezing and cold coming your way, right?
That's what I heard. Right now it's a balmy 41.
Wow. It's for us, it's going up to like 78, 79 on the weekend. I know.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow. But this morning I took the dogs out, or her dog out, at my daughter's, and it was 39. And I kept saying, we got to walk faster. It's so cold.
Yeah, I went to the dentist this morning at 7:30 and it was 24. So yeah.
Wow, where are you? New Jersey?
No, Massachusetts.
Oh,
24, so cold. And you're getting the cold too, right, Lynn?
Yep. Oh, Texas.
yeah, it's gonna be 14 on Wednesday.
Mary Beth, and we're so lucky. Donna,
Yeah,
Mary
no,
Beth,
it's freezing.
Marilyn.
We're like, oh, it's so cold. It's 58.
But it was 38 this morning when we went to the gym. So
Yeah.
Wow.
You went to the
Early
gym?
morning.
we did.
Good.
We've been aiming for 3 times a week, and this morning as I caught up my little checklist, the things that we've done, health wise that we're doing. Did we walk? Did we do the exercise? Did we do the meditation? Did we do the gym? We're making it about once a week. So that's
Good.
not good, because when we hit this period every year, like all bets are off, and we eat things that we normally wouldn't eat, and we do things that we normally wouldn't do, and then it's like mid-January, end of January, it's like, well, where did this 5 pounds come from? Like, where they come from. So we're trying to combat that, and just kind of the hibernation sluggishness of winter.
Right. Winter does that, in COVID. I had clients, one lady who said she gained 70 pounds with COVID and stuff. And so I know that I think they're going to find a lot happen with that. Well, I guess COVID's still going on, but
Yeah.
maybe not. We're not so isolated. And Lisa,
We all got crazy cooking.
maybe it's good.
Adele, that's different. She does that without.
Yes.
We did it, when it was sort of like just in the very beginning. I was like, honey, we got to go to the grocery store. I need to get soup stuff. And we didn't do bread, but but we did do a lot more baking, like a lot more cooking, not baking.
Yeah.
Than usual. Yeah. And a lot more eating than usual.
It was a tough time. It was a tough time. I just remember the first couple of days, a lady was by the wine section, and she was young, and she had put all these wine bottles in. She goes, "This is the only way I'm going to get through this."
I don't know if anybody watches Lisa Ling. She's weekly, and she interviewed doctors who and people. There's so much alcoholism was on the rise during COVID, and people in their 20s now need liver transplants. They're on the liver transplant
God.
Oh,
because
no.
of binge drinking.
Wow.
I did read,
So it's caused a lot of anomalies.
and wasn't a lot of women. They said women and alcohol use went up a lot.
I had an intervention. My kids on Memorial Day said, "Ma, we've noticed that, and should we be worried?" And I said, "Yeah, you should be worried." So that was the last day I've had any alcohol.
Really?
But it was bad. Yeah.
I think it
Because
was.
the package store delivered.
Yeah,
They made it too easy.
yeah.
Well, this whole group started with a happy hour. So what our group is.
See, luckily, I'd rather eat my calories. So
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting. But I think the stress, you could either stress eat, stress drink, or, so I get it. Yeah. So Lisa, she's had so much, but one of her friend's mothers passed away. So she's at a funeral today and won't be with us. Mary Beth just went off. And let's see what time it is. So 6 minutes after, but I came up with a meditation that I thought we could do. And then we can open it up to get to know each other better too. Because there was a new lady, Marilyn. I don't know if you brought her, a younger person, and she wanted to know the background on everybody, but I had the baby and I couldn't hear what was going on. Was she your friend,
Was that
Mary?
Anna?
Anna,
Anna
Yeah.
Cronenberg? Yeah, yeah.
And is she sticking with us?
I think so. I think she's really excited about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. She's a client and I just kind of downloaded. I mean, we initially met during a reading and then we got together for brunch and I just, on the way, I downloaded, you're supposed to invite her to the group. You're supposed to mentor her. You're supposed to, and she's really into it, but doesn't know. And she has a couple of kids who are school age and she's really busy, which is great, but she's incorporating this stuff. So we haven't played much or anything like that since then, but she's really excited about the group.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know Liz was too, but she's we're teaching school every day, so she she may get on for 10 minutes or so, but yeah, it's tough. And then Betty, we've lost Betty because of her work.
Yeah, Betty will be back. Sita's in the middle of writing. She had a tamale party yesterday for her family, and I think she's probably just burned out and she's writing and writing and writing. So she's not coming today. Yeah, it's interesting who shows up and sometimes not. It's always just right. And Ilona's
I
done,
put down my cookie decorating right now for you guys, so.
better be juicy. Yeah, and Ilona's out until January.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's great that we keep going, and we'll hope that Lisa can be back more regularly and not have so many losses going on, right? And
Yeah.
Oh, and Betty will be back. She had, I think last week she had 2 clients actively getting ready to pass.
oh, right.
So that's what was going on. Hi, Marie.
Hey, Marie.
Hi.
Mary Beth was with us, but she somehow went off. So I hope she comes back. I'm just checking to see if anybody sent a text, but they did not. So deep breath in, right? I mean, it's a busy time for all of us. I'm on baby duty again, so I was up at 30 again today. I know, and the cleaning people are here, so they left, the baby and Megan left, but I've got a big dog and the cleaning people, so I'm hoping I can do the meditation, and if there's noise, you guys will all understand. And yeah, hey Mimi.
Everyone, sorry, I'm a little late. And I have to leave around at 9:50. I'm sorry, 10:50. So I'll try to sit throughout the rest of the meeting.
As a hairdresser, she's got to be so booked this week, right? And then you got your parents and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
that's a lot. So should we do the protection prayer and the meditation? Oh, maybe we'll give one more minute for Mary Beth to see if she can hook back in. I don't know if something is going on with her computer because she's so good with the computer. Oh, Marilyn, are you finished with your all your podcasts?
Got them all in, and an extra. They needed them all in up to the first one in January, and I think we've got the first 2 weeks in January already set. Yeah, I'm happy. They're fun.
My hairdresser loves it. She loves it. She's had a lot of losses, and yeah,
Your
she
hairdresser
looks.
is
My hairdresser.
someone I know, or no?
Yeah.
Sharon?
My hairdresser. Lori. Well, I've been going to her for a long time.
In Sharon?
No, she's in Easton.
Where in
At
Easton?
a place called Palos on 138. It's
I don't know that.
kind of south.
That's so sweet, though. And Mary Beth just texted that she can hear.
Yeah, but she got off
okay.
again.
But she what?
She's off again. So there's no Mary Beth sign. So I guess we probably should go ahead. She must be having trouble with something, right? Okay. All right, Mary. And there she is. There she is. Yay.
Okay, take a deep breath. Relax. It's Monday, but we got this. We clothe ourselves in a robe of light composed of the love, the power, and the wisdom of divine consciousness. We wear it not only for our own protection, but also so that those who see it or come in contact with it will be drawn to divine and healed. Let the light surround us, let it permeate us, let it fill us up and emanate from us, reflecting to each other and to all and to divine, while remembering that that's what we're made of, the divine light. Take a breath. And there it is.
Wow, thank you, Marilyn. You're already on the same page. I thought of a meditation with fire in our chakras. So let's go ahead and continue with the wonderful protection and the breathing and the relaxing and the feeling of the light. And let's imagine that we have a wonderful fireplace or fire that we can be near. Imagine where you'd like to be, in a cabin in the mountains, in your own home, outdoors, I guess for us in California, or wherever a fire would be that can warm you, can be light for you, nurtures us. So allow yourself to just bring in whatever scene feels comfortable for you. And you may be lying next to the fire or sitting in a comfortable chair, but you're taking in all the wonderful aspects of fire. And one of the things that we can become aware of is how recent our ability to have warmth within our homes has become. 100, 120 years ago, there was no electricity. People had to get coal or wood or whatever sort resources there were to warm up their places. And even fire itself to be used for cooking or in ceremonies. It was hundreds of thousands of years ago they found the first evidence of that. But prior to that, our ancestors had nothing but the sun. So in appreciation of our ancestors, of how they developed new ways, how they endured things that we would have a hard time enduring, and an appreciation for the people all over the planet right now that may not have heat or light, whether it's war or homelessness. We want to bring them into our consciousness with the warmth and the light that we feel, to send it out to everyone in need. And like Marilyn said, we can be the light and reflect the light. And breathing that in, really trying to send out gratitude. And feeling that warmth of our own scene with the fire and the light and the beauty of the flames. I'm going to ask you to imagine all of our chakras, and I'll go through them as we bring light and warmth to each chakra, starting at the root chakra. So sending your energy down to the root chakra at the very base of your spinal cord, your tailbone. That root chakra's color is red. So breathing in warmth and light into that very base chakra. That chakra brings us stability and safety and grounding. So imagine the red, soft light in that area, allowing your energy to feel grounded and protected. And then you bring the energy up to the pelvic region. And that area is orange. And it's your sacral chakra. And the sacral chakra is for passion. It includes the reproductive organs. It brings us joy, excitement, and creativity. So let's open up that energy of the sacral chakra and imagine that orange, wonderful light to fill that area as the energy starts to travel up our body. And when we move it up to the stomach area, where it's the solar plexus. The solar plexus is our feelings of self-esteem, feelings about ourselves. It has the yellow color. So we want to move that yellow light and warmth up to that area of our body. And hopefully you can feel this energy warming and traveling up your body to open up every chakra in this holiday season. Breathing that in, you move it up to your heart chakra, the heart chakra of green, the heart chakra for love, the heart chakra that gives out the energy of compassion and caring. And the green elevates the energy to that area of our body. Breathing that in, we go up to our throat chakra. And in the throat chakra, the color blue allows us to speak our truth, allows us to sing our own special song through our voices and through our expression of song and voice. And you can feel the blue travel up and out, allowing you to speak your truth and feel good about your truth. And then you go up to the third eye, indigo, above your eyebrows. And the indigo and the third eye chakra bring intuition and ability to make decisions, a knowing of what is right and good for you. You bring all that energy up to the very top of your head, to the crown chakra. The crown chakra that connects us to God, to our spirit. And it's violet in color. And you may feel that energy as it travels all the way up through your body to the very top of your head. And it actually wants to travel up to what they call the 8th chakra, the soul chakra, which is gold. And that energy field lies above our head, connecting us to the universe and beyond, so that we're connected to one another, connected to all energy forces. And it allows us to be the total light that we want to be. So you may want to take a deep breath from the root chakra all the way up to that soul chakra and feel it expand and go all around you in a magnetic field that protects you, lights your way, and it feels like that warmth and light of the fire. And as we enter the season of being with family and friends, of tradition, it isn't the presence, but it's our presence that's important. being totally present. So if we see a fire going in somebody's fireplace, or we see the light of the sun, or the light of the stars, or the moon, we remember we're connected to those sources. We're connected to everything. And we can breathe in the warmth and the light to be present for every part of this next journey. And with our chakras totally open, we go back to the fire where we were sitting or lying, again in gratitude to every one of our ancestors. And we're talking about thousands of people. In gratitude for our spiritual guides. In gratitude for all the women here, whether they're here today or have been on calls before. And reflecting on the year of 2022, giving ourselves credit for surviving, for thriving, for being able to continue to move forward. And in that fire, you may want to see the joy, abundance, good health, laughter, singing, dancing, family, friends that you want to bring in for 2023. And believing it is true, we will see it. So again, just centering ourselves on the warmth, the heat, the protection of the fire, the warmth, the light, the protection that we get here on the call, and from all that's around us. And starting this week in a sense of gratitude, breathing it in, remembering to breathe in through our chakras in any time of stress, and allowing the energy and the light to just emanate from us. Now taking one more breath, coming back into your body, feeling grounded to the earth, feeling expansive to the universe. Whenever you're ready, taking a deep breath in and coming back to being here with all you wonderful women. So, welcome back. We're going to have our fires glowing within us and around us. Anybody want to bring up anything that they're dealing with, that they want to share, fun things that they want to talk about? Oh, good. Sophia just joined us too. Hi, Sophia.
Hi.
Anything for the new year, the old year?
Oh, I got stuff. She's got stuff too. We all got stuff.
Okay,
Come on.
okay, you go first.
Oh,
Sophia's
no,
gonna go?
really.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, all right. So, my question relates to how do we honor the faith that we were brought up in, if we were brought up in a particular religion, and how do we expand that to like, for example, I grew up in a Jewish home, and I don't celebrate Christmas. I do understand Christ consciousness and Christ love, and I think that's an amazing thing. But do I still have to follow the rules that I was brought up with, like being kosher, or does that not matter?
Robbie, we're all finding our own way. I was just at my ex-husband's house last night, and he has Christmas decorations everywhere. And his brother was saying, why don't you just leave them up all year? And his new wife goes, you can't do that. And I'm thinking, you can do whatever you want. And we get to a certain point in our lives where what is it that's good for you? Like, I love honoring everybody's religion and trying to learn about it. And then I have my own pathway that's unique for me. And I don't want to feel guilty about anything, and I don't want to feel like I'm stuck or trapped either. And so, does anybody else want to say anything about that? Because I know there are a few people who've been raised in the Jewish religion, and it has so much benefit, but I don't think it ever meant to be like restrictive, right? And
It depends on the individual, because there's such a wide spectrum of how people observe in that faith.
yeah. One of my best friends she's in Israel doing excavations of things that are hundreds of thousands of years old, and she's Orthodox. And on Saturday, is it Saturday? Or she can't turn on the light or whatever. And so I try to help her with that. Yeah. Marilyn, or
I have something I could say.
oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, you know, when I'm sort of going to echo what Janet said, but maybe with a little more specificity relevant to my own life experience. I think that when you were young, if you look back to like when you were a young wife or whatever, and if you were married, but a young person, there were these rules that you grew up with that you really felt were important to adhere to. And there's a lot of societal pressure, you know, to have the household a certain way, you know, if it's, you know, especially if you were a Jewish mom, you know, and to raise your kids in that faith in a specific way. But yeah, nobody really is paying much attention to me now, you know. I mean, there's not a lot of shaming when you're, you know, your family's already on their way, your kids are on their way, and you get to, it's part of, for me, at least the way I see it, is thinking about what is important in your life and who you are, and rather than just accepting everything and doing everything by rote. So the things that you choose to include in your life should be really important to you. It's your life.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything specifically that you feel, Robbie, that is hard for you?
So I frequently, you know, things kind of jive, and I have been in the habit of automatically saying, "Thank you, Hashem," but maybe that is limiting. I don't know, because that would be, I don't know. Yes, Marilyn.
Elie Wiesel always said, if the only prayer you can say is thank you, it's enough. He always said that. And it's really interesting. Judaism works for me because there's no intermediary. And the first time I saw the movie before the play, Fiddler on the Roof, I thought, oh, Tevye is just like me. I've had an ongoing conversation. I love going to temple. When I was a kid, all the kids would be outside running around, and it was like, where are you? And it was like, I was in the service, because I love the music and I love watching the out-of-body people flying around and, you know, and all that going on. But it's interesting because my parents weren't into it. I come from Orthodox stock, but my parents didn't go. 2 out of 3 kids don't. They, you know, and Sarah goes with, because, you know, she's into it, but she goes to honor us. And it's funny because we were doing Hanukkah last night, just, you know, the kids, and we were talking about like the services. Me personally, I don't think God needs to hear the same thing over and over and over every single day, every week. You're so great, you are so great, and we suck so much. I don't believe that's, you know, part of. So I love the melodies. Yesterday, I didn't even have to ask the guys and Harry. They put on, you know, Hanukkah music, and Jack Black's wailing away with his stuff. I mean, there's a lot of joyful stuff, but the rote doesn't work. And it's interesting, Robbie, because I understand getting trapped in that, because I think we were still in Massachusetts when your father passed and you had the Shiva at your house. Do you remember? And was it Rabbi Starr who was there, who got into some deep shit?
Yeah,
But
he's been Rabbi Starr.
I think you might have asked him, or somebody said, Rabbi, what happens to us after we pass? And he said, how the hell should I know? And I thought, Well, at least he's honest. And then he got into really big trouble. But it's interesting. I
Yeah.
think putting anyone between us and God is a problem. So I think there's so many indigenous religions. I think and it's interesting because Sita is a Baba devotee. So God is in so many manifestations. When I channel, I'll add the names and it turns out to be the names of the person I'm going to channel for, but I don't know it yet. But they do. Jesus, Baba, Yogananda. They're all here. But it's the divine connection. And I just think go direct. And I think kosher rules now, I think it's saved a lot of people from trichinosis and dying. And now I think kosher rules would be less processed food and organic now. Because what would divine want for us? So I believe in a more updated, and yet I love going and hearing the old tunes. I was brought up on cantorial music. I love that. But the spiritual part, I think a lot of people, religion and spirituality are separated. Now I know why. So last week I channeled something about this. And I wrote it down. Don't bite it, kitty. And I didn't know why, and I knew I couldn't use it in a podcast. So it was religion versus spirituality, which is obedience versus collaboration, fear-driven versus love-driven, contraction versus expansion. If your belief doesn't vibrate with love, if it is not of God, if it strikes fear in your heart, minimizes your gut instinct and goes against your heart, it is man's limited version of divine. Your connection is direct, straight, and strong with divine consciousness. And I didn't know who it was for because I knew it was too, can't say that on a podcast. I'd piss off too many people. Now I know why. But
That is beautiful. Yeah.
Because religion can be the path, but it could also limit the path. And that's where our development and our discovery is. And that's exciting.
Thank you, Marilyn. There's a wonderful podcast by Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote Conversations with God, and now he's written a new book about how perceptions of God have hurt us instead of helped us. And his belief is that God is pure love, and if we're attached to pure love, our decisions aren't hard to make. I can try to find that and send it out. I don't know if I have your number, Robbie, but I have Mormon clients and all these people who've come to me that I've sent the podcast to, and they go, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much freer." It was interesting. He's got a really good, he's like this older guy who's just lived his life and has experience on all this. But thank you for just starting this discussion, because this is a really important time to get in touch with what's good for us and good for our future. And it can be very individual. I know, Sophie, you had you want to say something, Mary Beth?
Yeah, so going kind of full circle back to what you started with, Robbie. I think when you're brought up within a certain tradition, you can choose what you're taking from that tradition, right? So I was brought up in a liberal Catholic, Roman Catholic tradition, Irish Catholic to a great extent. And at some point within Catholic schooling, I was like, okay, this is it. What is the Christ energy? What is it? And to me at the time, as an adolescent, it was doing good, right? Being, but the real good, not the good that they impose on you, right? It's from the heart, working with yourself from the heart. But I recognize that I can't divest myself of the upbringing that I had, right? And so I will say to people that I don't have these deep conversations with, I'm culturally and intellectually Catholic. That is the path that I took in education and in growing up, but that doesn't limit me. That's just how I've come through my evolution. So I hope that helps, because it's more grounded, right? So you can be Jewish however you want to be Jewish, right? Because that's what you were born into, that's what you were brought through, but it doesn't have to limit you.
Okay. But I guess what I'm feeling is that where we're headed is more universal, and I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm just wondering if I should let go of the things that were sort of pounded into my head, and not honor any one particular faith, but honor them all.
How does that feel when you say that?
It feels fairer, more fair. Is fairer a word? I don't know. It just seems more inclusive. I prefer to be inclusive rather than pigeonholed. Does that make sense?
I think we'd stop the wars and killing each other if we could be inclusive and have that kind of fair way of looking at things. So I sometimes I'll put my hand on my heart to try to figure out what do I want? What do I really want to do? And then I go, oh, okay, I've got it. It's this that gets me in trouble.
Yeah, the ego.
I think for a lot of us, it was separateness. There were separate schools for different religions. When I was a kid, the Catholic schools went to the Catholic Church, and I went to Hebrew school, and and I think we're learning now, and in a group like this, that it's the same heart, it's the same divide, and it all comes down to intention.
And then when we talk about our ancestors, well, who are our ancestors? Are they from this faith? Are they from all faiths?
I was thinking about that because we were talking about 23andMe, and I'm so excited to report that I think I told you I'm like 0.0 something Asian. So now we can eat the food of our people, especially on Christmas. But the thing is that it's interesting because there's the DNA, but then there's for years we've been channeling in the whole thing about spiritual DNA being broader than physical, which of course is epigenetics. So we have all of that coming in, but then we have the past life stuff. We might have been in that place. I'm starting to wonder about the epigenetics that came through for our family, having lives with that group in that family in the past. But then there are all these cultures that we're drawn to, and those are our incarnations. And so soul-wise, we're really connected genetically with everybody, right?
Because it's funny
That
with
feels-
23andMe.
That feels better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 99.9 Ashkenazi Jew, but you and I have had that shared memory of being embalmers in Egypt, or I had a past life regression of being a little Philistine child, or so how through the ages am I 99.9 Ashkenazi
Exactly.
Jew?
That's what this body is.
So it's just weird.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we have both of them coming in soul-wise, and it's really cool. Yeah.
I was reading about just the whole thing about fire, and I was kind of mesmerized by the first idea of fire was 800,000 years ago. They found some record, but it was in one special place. Then 400,000 years ago, it was in more places. But they talked about how people had to live in warm climates. So that means we were probably, or our orientation, our ancestors started in the same places because they had to live in warm places, and then it changed. So how did we become so different genetically or DNA wise if we all came from this one group of people that had to grow, live in the warm climates? It's very interesting to think about, but maybe what we measure doesn't measure far enough back to realize that we're all from the same place.
Actually, I think they did do the dating that we all stem out of Africa. And if you look at because I did 23andMe and then the ancestry, and it does give a tiny percentage, but the debate was, did we come from China or did we come from Africa? And we actually all came from Africa, and it's spread out.
Very cool.
Dawn, I think you were telling us the other day about Pizzly bears. Was that? And I think that's what just happened with everybody, about how I think, explain it, but it really tells the whole story. And I think what's happened with us.
The book that Jess and I have been reading is Imaginable by Jane McGonigal. And she was a gamer, somebody who creates video games, and was tapped by the Institute for the Future to become a research director there, which is where she's been now for about 15 years, I think. And one of the things that they do is they look for signals and trends to predict the future. And in regards to the Pizzly bear in particular, a Pizzly bear is a combination of a polar bear and a grizzly bear. Because the polar bears are losing their habitat, they're moving further south into grizzly bear territory. And so there's a competition, maybe not so much for resources, because polar bears tend to be fish and seals and what have you, and grizzlies, I understand, will eat just about anything. So grizzlies are actually more adaptable, and female polar bears have been mating with grizzly bears, and they have there has become a hybrid species now of Pizzly bears who can reproduce, so that it's not like a one-off, like a donkey mule kind of a situation. They are able to reproduce, and that will probably ultimately be the extinction of the polar bears. That this is how it'll happen. They'll basically migrate into this new hybrid bear. And so they have, I think, the long face of the polar bear, but the brow of the grizzly and the size of the grizzly. They are, I think, still predominantly white or spotted, but they are moving. That's how they're surviving. That's how that's what they're thinking will happen there. The whole imaginable thing has really gotten our attention, because one of the things that they did, or one of the things that she did, Jane McGonigal, was take the skill sets that you learn in gaming, which are varied and much more than you would think if you've ever watched some kids playing video games, and use those to create simulations into the future. And so they did a simulation in 2008 for a pandemic that would start, an upper respiratory virus that would start in China, and how would people react to it. And they created sort of, it's not on Facebook, I don't think, but a Facebook-like platform. So people could join that, and the ask was that you spend at least 10 minutes a week. It could be more, but so you're not immersed all the time in the game, but that you would, really spend a few minutes every week thinking about how you would react to various obstacles and challenges that they would put forward, and then journaling your responses as if you were experiencing those. And so, for instance, one of the things they said is, okay, the CDC has now said 2-week mandatory quarantine, everybody. Under what conditions would you break quarantine? And people said, I would definitely break quarantine for weddings, funerals, and religious services. Can't take that away. Even if you're sick, yes, even if I know I'm sick and spreading, I will go. And so they gathered all of this kind of information from, I think it was 8,000 people over a 10-week period that they were all sort of playing in the game. And they were able to accurately predict the whole of what we've just been living through this last 3 years, even though at the time, of course, it was unimaginable, which is kind of where the title of the book comes from. They did some kind of a Google word search, and the word unimaginable and unthinkable showed up 3 million times in the very beginning part of COVID. And she's like, It's not unimaginable. It's totally imaginable. You just have to be able to unhook your mind from the day-to-day normalcy of life and imagine it, and really put yourself into the position of, okay, this is the situation. How would I react? And they were their scorecard for what they predicted was so spot on for exactly what we've been living through that it's almost spooky, except that people were honestly trying to feel into what would that feel like if this is what I woke up with tomorrow and this is what they said. This is our new experience, our life experience. How would I react? And like I said, it didn't have to be long term. They just asked you to do it for like 10 weeks for at least 10 minutes a week and record make a journal entry, send a Facebook post to your friends about what's going on in your life and how you're reacting to it. And so they were really trying to get people to really try it on mentally. And for the people who did do that, did participate in that, they had a much easier time when the real deal happened, because guess what? Imagining it is laying down tracks in your brain that made it not
Traumatic.
Not still traumatic, but not it didn't freeze people. You know, I read something that just in this last week, and it's like, you know, okay, we're almost into 2023 and like 70% of the population is still stuck in 2019 because they're still in a certain level of denial, of shock, of not knowing what to do next or how to be with the fact that this happened, the fact that we lost so many people, the fact that we've stretched our healthcare system to the absolute limit and found out that, you know, oh, and by the way, like our retirement homes and our assisted living areas are terribly run, totally not prepared for anything like this. And guess what? We're probably going to have more of this. This is not going to go away. It'll be less, but there'll be a new threat at some point in the future. The countries that did well were the countries that had already dealt with SARS in the early aughts, I think it was, and Ebola, because they knew it was real. They knew that the way to stop it was to vaccinate and mask and quarantine and do all of these sanitation measures that so many other people just didn't want to do. And I say that having family members who still don't believe in that, like this even happened.
So interesting that it they could predict what was going to happen. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad about the polar bears, because we don't want to lose every a part of our world like that. But it almost seems like human beings who are interracial marriages, religious marriages, we're all becoming more, you know, connected again. So it's good. Sophia, I know you had something too that you wanted to share.
Well, you know, when I was a kid, this is like totally not the point of what I was going to bring up before, but then Donna introduced this interesting thing, and I read about the polar bears and the grizzlies, which is like fascinating, right? And when I was I noticed when I was a kid in Puerto Rico, when I went to Puerto Rico, that at least the way I saw it, all the dogs were tan in color, and I thought that people, by the time I got to be this age, we'd all be tan, you know, because everybody would have, like, there wouldn't have been any racial barriers, and people wouldn't have been paying attention to all that craziness, that cosmetic surfacey stuff, and we're not tan yet. But maybe, you know, I'm still holding out for that, you know.
Me too.
You know, I noticed there's a lot more, I'll call it cross-pollination, where I was last night in Highland Park in the Los Angeles downtown area. And then I came here today to northern San Diego, and there's not a lot of cross-pollination. It was really starkly different. First, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Lynn. Lynn has been, I want everyone to know, Lynn has been extremely helpful and supportive to me and my, I want to say stupid little cat. Mary Beth understands that. I'll just say, Lynn, since last we connected, he's been to kitty emergency twice. But he's better. He's less stressed. I see hope. I see hope, you know, I do. So thank you. He was eating fabric, you know. And I will simply say, look at your knee, you guys, look at your ankle, look at the distance between your knee and your ankle right there in the front. That's how much fabric he ate. Like that, you know, that you couldn't eat it, and he's 6 pounds. So,
Oh, geez.
so,
But you think he's doing better?
he is, because he is less, I think maybe I'm less anxious. Maybe he's less anxious. Maybe we're all just a little, you know, I think I have more skills in understanding of his condition, and maybe, you know, I'm trying to just go with it. You know, what happens, you guys, up to a certain point, right? It's out of our hands. So thank you. I want to say, going back to what Roberta was saying, and Marilyn, you know, the funny thing is, I don't know, you guys, and Mary Beth will understand this. You know, I think with respect to being, you know, sort of the letting go of the restrictions imposed upon us by our religious upbringing. I have a hard time letting go of some things. I mean, I'm open to everything, but the funny thing is, I have a great affection and sentimental attachment to not my own upbringing, which I haven't been to Catholic Church since I was 14, except for Mary Beth's wedding. But you know, I'm like a Jew wannabe. I was, you know, I was married so long to somebody who was Jewish, and I really appreciate that tradition. And I don't know if it's bad to look through the filter of how we grew up, like Mary Beth's looking through her Catholic filter, and as long as it adds and it doesn't separate you, you know, that's kind of how I feel.
It's more acknowledging that that's the filter that you're probably looking through, not consciously, right? So if you bring it to consciousness, then you can say, okay, that reaction was my mother, right? It wasn't me. So, but then because you get steeped in it, then you're like, okay, so my reactions are going to come through this. It's not that. What I'm trying to say is, don't discount who you may be because of your upbringing, right? Please understand that you will be looking through those filters, maybe not consciously. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So those filters that you're talking about, Mary Beth, are the agreements. They are the agreements. And as we grow up and gain more insight and what kind of life we want to lead, that's when we start creating our own agreements, right? And we're doing it consciously at that point. And then we instill this or partake, you know, or impart out into the world. But for example, these agreements that we were taught early on are the very agreements that we go out into the world and impart to others. And the 4 agreements is just basically saying, hey, pay attention to what you're putting out into the world. So.
And I think what Marilyn said about the love and not fear and joy instead of sadness, those kinds of things. And so we can feel what feels bad to us. It starts to hurt inside when we're either buying into something or saying something that's mean or isn't respecting whatever we believe in. It doesn't feel good. And then we can learn to go, okay, what would feel better? What would feel better? I don't know, Donna, you're like, went on. I don't know if Donna was saying something, or Marilyn.
Anna?
No, I was going to say something about the disconnect. I was raised Roman Catholic and attended Catholic school for first and second grade, and thank God that was kind of the end of it. When my mother got divorced, and this was a religion that she was so caught up in, you know, Catholic Church does not recognize divorce. So when she got divorced, she got a letter of excommunication, and she was devastated. And at the time I thought, and I read the letter because she kept it in the family Bible. She, I mean, when she needed it the most, it said, you don't belong here anymore because of, you know, because you've broken your marriage vows, you've got a divorce. So I got skeptical at a very early age, and have come back to it a couple of times. Somewhere in my early 30s, it suddenly struck me in a different light, and I got a little bit more interested in it again. When Jess and I first came to California, we didn't have a religion that we had in common. You know, well, I don't know, maybe you don't know that I was married for 20 years previously, and that my first husband was Asian. And so his mother was Buddhist, and he was brought up sort of Methodist, but also grandma was Christian Scientist. So a real assortment of things. And so when Jess and I landed in California, we did a lot of field trips to different churches, trying to find some place where we felt like we might belong. And there were a lot of nice churches and a lot of nice people, but we were involved with, there's a big Unity Church in Sacramento, which is where we were at first. And so we got kind of involved with that. When we landed here in San Diego, we got very involved with the First Unitarian Universalist Church in Hillcrest. And that was wonderful. One, because it's got a very large congregation, that one in particular, in the Hillcrest area. So a lot of diversity, and they honor everything. So they bring in aspects of Judaism, they bring in Buddhism, they bring in paganism. They really try to embrace all of it. And the ministers that were there at that point in time, when we were there, first couple of years we were here, so it was like 2000, 2001, too, was just amazing. And they actually do, or had been doing, I don't think they've done it now since COVID, but they do a solstice celebration. And that really has become more of our religious observance, if you will, at this time of year. So, I mean, you know, like, we don't need to, I mean, it's just Jess and myself. We don't have kids that, you know, we're buying for. All the adults in the family have everything that they could possibly need, and then some. And so we have not exchanged gifts with any of the family members now in pretty much in years. And we don't, because we never really connected back to the older religions we were brought up in. We have not really gravitated there either. So solstice, that's what we end up celebrating. And if they do the celebration next year at that church, I will let you all know, because it is a fabulous celebration, and we have attended probably a half a dozen times over the last 15-20 years. And it's belly dancing and fire dancing and drumming and storytelling of the old crone of winter. And the kids go crazy, and they create all kinds of sacred experiences for you to walk around and have, and little gifts that they give you at each of those things, and an entire pageantry of on stage, you know, Celtic ritual and pagan ritual, and I mean, like, really all of it combined in the most fascinating ways, and always a huge turnout when they do that.
How nice to have something that's inclusive like that. You know, that's really
Yes.
a good way to go. Marilyn,
Yeah.
you said you wanted to say something too?
Oh, no, I think there's so many levels that we can drink this in. I think Donna summed it up so beautifully. You know, it's funny. I was talking to the kids about religion. I felt like for going to temple for me is like the music's too loud. My parents weren't into it. Kids, other than Sarah coming with, aren't into it. But I really like it. And we did what we call shul shopping. Shul is temple in Yiddish. And we found the one that felt right. And it's conservative as opposed to reformed, a little more, you know, they're the most liberal, magnificent rabbis, and they basically in code implore the congregation not to vote Republican. It is so sweet and so lovely. We're high holiday Jews. We don't go often, but when we started about 22 years ago. I went to a women's group meeting, a sisterhood meeting, and it was a lot of really, really lovely people, but I felt like a fish out of water like I did when I was a little kid, because that one thing wasn't enough for me. Do you know what I mean? You know, they were lovely people, but I need a group like this. When I lived back in Massachusetts, I belonged to a Lady Do-Gooder group that was non-sectarian, and they worked with, remember Father Bullock, Robbie, and
Oh, yes,
and
yes. He
everybody
was such a
worked
nice man. Yeah.
I don't understand socializing. I understand socializing to expand spirituality, but in terms of religion, even though I like going, I don't go for those same reasons really. So it doesn't make sense. So I think, Robbie, in answer to your question at the beginning, back to my real roots, which are Asian, of course, and boy, would my kids get mad at me for cultural appropriation. I think we can choose one from column A and one from column B, and because we're made up of all of it. We have epigenetics, which is really, really real. But then you know what the next level of DNA is going to be? You know, that they're already channeling that in the past life DNA. All that memory vibrates. So you have physical DNA, spiritual DNA. So the trauma, like our kids' adrenals are crazy because of the Holocaust thing. And basically any American, unless you're a conqueror, you know, is wounded. But then there's a higher vibration of where you were before and the trauma you took from the other life and what you're doing to heal whatever that is with those people or not those people in terms of grouping. And I really think we decide where we're coming in and we bring all of it to it. So it really is the right word, a conglomerate. And it's all just so lovely. It doesn't have to be, you know, and I think that's the learning too. Maybe because my parents weren't into it, I felt okay to like have fun with it. It's like the loud music, you know. Maybe I could go exploring. Nothing was shoved down my throat, and I was bullied, so I quit Hebrew school even though I loved it. But that left me with a hunger, and that pushed me to chase everything like Ellie was out like crazy. So, you know, it went as planned, but it's interesting because Elie Wiesel helped me resonate with my background in terms of the Judaism, but it really was more about the expansiveness. And he was the Unitarian who was like, hey, this is happening in Darfur. That's all our problem. It isn't about the Holocaust, you know, so it's all of it. And we don't have to be limited by anything.
May I interject here?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm done.
You know, I was talking to Mary Beth the other day about, I don't know how to characterize it, but this need for people to come to classify each other. They desperately need to do that. And I've experienced that myself. You know, you're saying, oh, you know, back then you were Asian, okay, and your kids aren't happy about your cultural appropriation, you know. And we're so, right now, we're in this period socially where everybody has to have this distinct group that they own and they can't cross over. And if you're Korean American, you can't play Japanese. And it's like, I mean, it's over, it's so crazy, you know. People really, and in fact, they're just, maybe I heard a theory yesterday put forth by this woman who is an actor, but she's a voice actor. And she was talking about what her limitations are, with respect to what type of person or what kind of role she will take. Like if the protagonist of the novel is white, she will maybe not take it because she's African American. But there are other factors she takes into account when taking on roles. But she thinks this is a time where people need to, for instance, actors should have their ability to only have Koreans play Koreans. And she feels like it's a healing kind of period that people need to go through. And I guess I don't know if that's true or not, but she feels
No,
like
sorry, there is a whole process to all of this, especially if you have certain cultures of origin and you're trying to assimilate into the main culture. There are steps that people go through. Some skip it. I was one of those that skipped it because I went tricultural here. And I felt like I identified better with the mainstream culture here in America, but I felt this pull of all the other things that my culture of origin was demanding of me. And so if I always felt like I was trying to juggle these cultures until I was married with children. Then I realized, like, you know what? I'm just going to pick what suits me, what is me. And that's what I did. There are certain things that I love of my Latin culture, celebrations and how we're lively and happy. And I love all of that. And I embrace it. And I just let it merge and let it be more of me. My children.
I don't think, oh, I'm sorry. I totally get that aspect of it because that is something I've been through. I think I'm thinking more from a broader rather than individual standpoint. People, like when she says healing, she's not talking about individual, she's talking about society on a broader basis. Like people haven't had the opportunity. If they were Asian, they had in the King and I, like Yul Brynner was taped up and and painted. So, but now for a while, she's saying people need to be able to own that. And maybe it's one can extrapolate it to something broader.
So, but Sophia, in terms of representation, we've worked with representation for decades, right? So there has to be representation because otherwise the default is white. So I think that's what she's dealing with more than anything else, right? And so I agree there's probably a pendulum swing. And then maybe we'll come back to the other. Most of us in our generation are the ones who procreate to make the others tan. So I think kids who are now 2 generations behind us are more apt to be that tan color that you're talking about. And then their vocal cords will be different and the way that they have been brought up in the world in terms of how they express themselves will be different. But we're in the middle of watching it happen.
Yeah, and you said using tan, we could use that even more as not an expression of color, but right, and I will say you pinpointed something very interesting. It's the age that we are too. I went to that Puerto Rican thing. It was Puerto Rican 50th anniversary thing. I won't go into details, but I'm simply saying Puerto Ricans are in the diaspora, like a lot of cultures. I mean, we're all different people. They all some live in Hawaii, some live in Texas, some live in California. But the people at this event were of our age, and they saw Puerto Ricans as being completely homogenous, meaning they all speak Spanish fluently. They all eat this kind of food. They all like this kind of music. And I'm like, well, no, this isn't a good fit for me because we're all different.
But isn't that a microcosm of what mainstream culture has done this whole time, right? So, I mean, I'm going to go, it's the oppressed becoming the oppressor.
Exactly. And it's like, they were very nice. And I was with our mutual friend and he said, oh, this is really great. And as he's looking around, these people are they're all of a certain type. But they weren't going to invite other types in. It would never be a comfortable resting place because you had to be like them. And you're right, you can just kind of expand that across the board. Be like them. And you know, at our age, we get to be like who we are.
Right.
It's so interesting. Oh, go ahead, Marie.
In all of this conversation, really what it comes down to is our need to belong. Our need to belong. We just have a kind of a crazy way of thinking how we belong because of what we've been taught. Because of what we've been taught. We all have that need to be connected and to belong.
And it does come down to that, you know, that is the very seminal part of this. Everything springs from that. And I even, you know, we're talking about religion and talk whether it's looking at as being inclusive or exclusive. It all, yeah, you know, I was on the phone with my nephew yesterday and I said, oh yeah, I remember when I was in a situation where I was told I was not Puerto Rican enough. and you know, we were laughing at that. People go out of their ways to exclude, you know, exclude others. It's a crazy thing, you know, where I really want to bring everybody in. Sometimes it's like swimming upstream though. You know, I'm against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marilyn, you know, I'm also part Asian. My grandfather was Chinese. So I inherited that, you know, alcohol intolerance where I turn beet red and then I turn green and then I go pass out somewhere.
Yeah, but you're a cheap drunk.
Yeah, I really am. And then my son, my best friend was Jewish. He's passed on. And so he would go to school with her children, and he would go to Jewish, what do they call it? The temple. And he would wear his little, you know, yarmulke, and he made challah bread. And not until he was an adult, he really thought he was Jewish. He said, Mom, he said, I just found out I'm not Jewish. And I go, no, you're not. I went to Hebrew school and I did all, I said, yeah, because they were your best friends. He said, I was so bummed. He said, we used to sing that dreidel song all the time.
I do want to hear the Hanukkah oh Hanukkah song. I've just been dying for that. You know, and the little dreidel song.
Yeah, yeah.
You're on mute now.
Hello?
Look up Jack Black's version. It's really fun.
Okay.
Jack Black.
I'm going to need to pass this on to somebody. If somebody wants to, Mary Beth, you're going to teach me how to do this.
I've got to go.
Yeah, I do
Oh.
too.
Everybody have a wonderful holiday.
Bye,
Yes,
you too.
great
Bye.
holiday.
Marie.
Happy,
Yeah, take
healthy,
care.
safe.
All right, Mary Beth.
Mary Beth's on mute.
She's got to help me.
Sorry. Go to participants and then assign it to me.
So I go under more and it says chat or pin.
No, participants.
Down on the bottom.
No, Katie.
I'm on participants and I got to your name and then it says more, and when I click on more it says chat or pin. Maybe I don't have to do it. Oh, claim host. Claim host.
There you
Okay.
go.
Claim host. Mary Beth. No. No. Okay. Claim host. Enter host key.
No.
I am
Is there
okay.
another one for host? Claim host. Let me see. I'll claim host. Oh, key or sign in to claim host. Let's see. I'm trying it, Janet, so don't do anything.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just messing things up. Maybe I don't. Maybe the other thing is I'm just have to help with the baby. I could just go out and do that, and you guys can stay on, and I'll go leave it on.
Wait. I don't remember my password. So.
Yeah, who does? Go see the baby. And you haven't talked about the baby, Jenna, and I actually hoped that that was something you were going to talk about. So
let me see if I can go get him. He's so cute. He stands up all by himself and he smiles and laughs. And let me see, because they just came in.
I need a baby. For this hour.
I want a dog.
Well, I want a dog too, but that was just, because well, and they're sort of like, it's a continuum. The dog, the baby. What, Donna, that book was Imaginable?
Imaginable.
Unimaginable.
No, it's
Unimaginable.
imaginable. Because what
Imaginable,
she's
yeah.
saying is they
I
found
keep
3
saying it
million
mixed up.
references to unimaginable or unthinkable. And she's like, no, it's all imaginable.
And who's
So
the
it's
author?
Imaginable by Jane McGonigal.
Thank you.
And if
And-
you
And
you
did
can
they-
go on YouTube, she's got a slew of YouTube, like TED Talks and interviews. They're all excellent.
Thank you. And what do you have to add, sir?
Oh, he's got the
Yeah.
hiccups. He's got the hiccups. He's 11 years old today.
Oh, hello.
And,
Cutie.
Did
Oh,
you see
I'm
all the
putting you
nice
on the big
women?
picture. I want to make you big.
He's looking.
I know.
Oh, wow. I can't believe it.
Oh my God.
He's like a real,
so alert.
real
Isn't he the
person.
cutest, Marilyn? Are
Look
you-
at that face.
Who are those people, huh? What do you think? Annie? Because he's got blue eyes, which is so funny because we're all brown-eyed over here. And he's so strong. I mean, let's see if I can show you. He could stand up and support his weight. Let's see. Like he's
Oh,
standing, like he's
that's
supporting his weight, and he's only 11 weeks old.
Wow.
That's so early. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I know, but his hiccups are, I guess he might need to be fed. Do you want to say bye to the people? You say, you'll be back in a couple of weeks and you'll be running marathons.
Janet, I think because you're not the host, you can't assign it.
Thank you.
I think Lisa's the host.
So, okay, so
Set up
I'm going
the
to try to
Zoom.
get off.
You can get off and I don't think anything will happen.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, let's
I
see.
think
I
Lisa's
think
the
I'm more
host.
What
important than-
happened?
I think I'm more important than I am, right? All right, here we go. Have a wonderful holiday, you guys. Take care.
You
too.
too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we're
Yep,
still
see, we're
here.
still
Not
here.
this is the
Yeah,
book.
we're still here.
That's the book, Imaginable.
Okay, so in this imaginable scenario, did they factor in having a president who downplayed the severity so that it did get so bad in our country
And
where it might
they included that people would lose faith with in the CDC, and they included a misinformation campaign
Wow.
being fed via social media primarily. And excuse me?
Fires in California.
And fires in California, which like aggravated the situation even further. And then of course, like the climate pieces of last summer, I think it was, Seattle, Washington had temperatures over 120 degrees for multiple days, and people died because that's not, it's considered a climate inhospitable to life. And so that was like, it's another stressor on the system, on all of our various actual systems, but also our nervous system, of just taking in kind of all of these things that feel calamitous to us and not being able to process it. And what she's saying is that if you can bring yourself to a scenario, which they create lots of them, and really try to put yourself in, and they give you like kind of all of this background information so that you can really try to get into the, okay, this is what I woke up to this morning. No water. None. Like, Cape Town, Africa, I think it was last year, they had an edict. They were like 1 liter per person for weeks. Can't flush the toilet, can't take a shower, can't wash the dishes. Yeah, I mean, like
That's
all
true
of
in
you
California.
cook.
There are towns that have absolutely no water, and
No water.
they're sucking it in, or they're buying these big containers that they sit in
Right.
the yards, and some smaller cities don't even have the budget to buy the water. So yeah, we're there.
Yeah. And, people think, well, that's like unimaginable, but really, is it? If it's already happening in several other places, yeah, okay, that's not like right here where we are, but is it that hard to imagine? With Sophia said, in other parts of this state, in California, there is a water shortage. And in Cape Town, they were told, this is what it's going to be for, I think it was a couple of months, but it was like, and one morning you may wake up and there will be no water, not even the 1 liter or however, I'm not sure what the exact measurement is, but it was like, it's not enough to keep you alive in terms of how much water your body needs, never mind do all of these other things that we do with water. So we need to start imagining those scenarios, and that's one of them, no water, because that's how we will start to come up with the systematic changes that we'll need to make in order to accommodate a world where we've got a population and large parts of populations all over the world, not just in isolated areas. It's kind of easy to ignore what's happening in Cape Town, Africa, because it's not right here. Well, when it is right here, what are we going to do about it? Because they are saying it's going to be here. We are going to have parts of the United States that are going to be considered, and they're talking like 20, 30 years on this, but that will be considered inhospitable with human life.
There are already cities that have designated themselves as refuge cities because there's going to be, and we've known this for like decades, but ignored it.
Yeah.
So there's already a lot of water related migration going on. People are choosing even not to live in certain places within our own state because of aridification, I think it's called, basically.
They were calling it the annual climate migration. McGonigal is in Northern California, and she said, during the fires, some family members were sleeping literally with their shoes on, because she asked one of the what do you call them, like crisis management kind of people in advance, what's the thing that you can do that's going to be the most helpful? And he's like, always know where your shoes are. Either sleep with your shoes on or have them right next to the bed. He said, because people lose so much time when they suddenly get the call that they have to go, looking for their shoes.
Oh, wow.
So, like everything should be ready to go. And she said, they spent the whole of the fire season with bags literally packed next to the front door of what would, if they have to go, they have to go. And we had that experience in like 2003, fires that were pretty close to here. And we loaded up the car. We put the computers in the car. We had, all the stuff that we thought we might absolutely need, because we got a call on a robocall at 6 a.m. that said, prepare to evacuate. And the fires had been going on for several days, and they were getting closer to the point where we actually could see them on, like the next hillside. So yeah, we were already ready, but then, like I said, we got a phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning that said, be prepared to evacuate within the next hour. And we were very happy that we were on that chain that got notified. Not everybody does. Not all of our neighbors had gotten that phone call because they hadn't signed up for the early alert system, so we're out there trying to, like, spread the word. It's like, what, we may need to leave. Ultimately, we didn't have to, but.
How do we imagine, reversing all these doomsday?
If you don't, if you're in so much
Yes.
denial that you can't even comprehend that they're going to happen because they're unimaginable, then you can't. So that's the idea, is get the ideas of, if this really happened, how would you feel? What would you feel like your options were? They knew in advance that a lot of women were going to drop out of the workforce because the schools were going to close because of the pandemic. They knew that. That was not a surprising thing. And the women were the ones who said that. The women who took part in the scenarios said, oh, well, if they start shutting down stuff, and, the essential workers were, now suddenly their job is not considered, that they need to be, or either that they were, and they were, like the lowest paid of the people that needed to stay on the job, but the others that weren't, suddenly didn't have a job. If they close the schools down, well, then what are you going to do? Your kids are home. You have to be. They can't be unattended. So now the women are home, and so they knew all of that
So
going
the
into
book
it.
raises consciousness, right?
It
Right.
really does.
Raises consciousness.
Exactly.
So once you're conscious, Idel, I think that's where you come in and say, okay, these are the things we can do as a solution. I think it's not our generation.
No, I don't think it
It's
is
probably not.
but I do go to your point, Donna. It by bringing it home to us, that's one way of motivating people to exercise their intelligence and creativity towards problem solving.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I think
And also because she is also teaching courses on Coursera, we decided that for our solstice gift for ourselves, that we are going to take a year's subscription to Coursera, because there's more than 50 hours of like how to become a futurist, a whole slew of different courses on there for how to, and in fact, we watched a YouTube video, not last night, night before, how to future. I haven't been to the website yet, but it's howtofuture.com. And it's a thing of how to start thinking about the future as real, as imminent, as something that you have some control over. Thank you.
What is Coursera?
Coursera, Coursera. It's an online university they offer more than 7,000 courses on that.
What they do is cull from universities. So universities will attach themselves to Coursera, and that gives them a greater market, right? So
Right.
everybody who teaches on Coursera is from a university.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like
Coursera
a
itself is
holding.
not a university, but it holds universities within it, and you can take university courses, but they're not credit, right? I don't think you can get a degree.
I think
I'm
some
not
of them
sure.
are, and some of them aren't. The course I took in designing cities was through Coursera, and that was actually being offered by the University of Pennsylvania, and I did receive a certificate for that.
A certificate.
For that
Okay.
class,
Yeah.
And they have monthly, they have a couple of different levels of membership. The monthly one is like $59 a month, and you take an unlimited number of courses. And we're going to do the year subscription, which is $400, and just basically kind of immerse ourselves in this, because I think I told Marilyn the other day, I read Alvin Toffler's Future Shock when I was a teenager, and it totally blew my mind. So I've done a lot of reading, been a long time since I was a teenager, but since that point in time, a lot of things about the future and being sort of more, I don't know if I want to say being a futurist, but really trying to kind of try those things on. And there's a number of different simulations, and you can join those, and I don't think that there's any cost or anything associated with it. Right now they've got zero waste, the water, the climate migration. Those are the three that come to mind right now that they're running. So simulations that you can actually join.
Emotional melding.
The emotional melding?
Yeah, where you do emotional matches with people that are having, emotional experiences.
Oh, because you're on the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just brought me lunch because we're got to go for PT. But emotional melding, because of the platforms that they use, which is sort of like a Facebook platform, and they set one up for each of the simulations so that they're not cross-contaminating it. So all of the simulations that are about the water, zero water or zero waste or the climate migration, they're all individual simulations that they're running, and they're all on different subsections of platforms, so that you're basically in there with a whole bunch of people who are basically going to participate in that simulation. But it gives you a sense of community too, because people make friends. People find people local to them who are having the same kinds of thoughts, and people are forming collaborations on those platforms because they see a synergy between what they're doing and what somebody else is doing that actually might help solve a problem that they're dealing with in the simulation. So we're not ready to do the simulations yet. We decided that we really wanted to do the coursework before we did the simulations. And this way, if my job goes away, I have another thing to do.
Interesting.
So,
That's kind of where we're at.
recently scientists have, and the US apparently have found a way to create energy with fusion instead of fission. Does anybody know how long it will take before this can be applied?
10 years.
A
10
long
years.
time.
10 years is what they're talking about right
Yeah.
now.
But still, there are more than, it's not just that particular lab, the Lawrence Livermore lab. There's like, even down the road in Orange County, they're working on that. It's a thing, but this is the first time they've actually, as you said, created energy through that process. And so I think it kind of goes back to what Donna was saying. And, you know, it's not, and this is one thing I had a hard time grasping. So many people of our age feel like it's a doomsday scenario, you know, and it's just not. I always have a lot of faith in our creativity as human beings. And I see that nuclear fusion news of last week and what's going on that we're not aware of as being, you know, representative of that. You know, we should kind of like hold on to the positive.
We're very imaginative. We come up with things. It's part of our evolution in an ongoing way. I mean, maybe we don't think of it that way necessarily, but the alternative is to become extinct. So,
Right.
you know, we too will be doing something along the lines of the grizzly bears.
Oh, come on. Humans are the only mammal who will cross a mountain to have sex with somebody. Okay. They study gorillas and they don't do that. So, you know, we're safe until we blow ourselves up, but we're safe. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a positive note. And I like us today as humankind, just thanks to everybody today. I have to bow out now, though.
Okay, but we have to talk, Sophia. Let's talk soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.
Well, this has been interesting.